looky, another testing talk. So I'll be talking about eliminating smart contract testing uncertainty using the Mainnet data. My name is Nebush. I'm one of the co-founders at Tenderly. Mainly, I've been working on the core tech behind Tenderly, which is our custom virtual machine that is capable of extracting much more information from the execution layer and then feeding that information either through some of our processing pipelines or directly giving it to the end user in the form of debugging data. So we are all aware of how important testing is. It allows us to prevent bugs from going to the production. It allows us to identify some of the malfunctions that can basically destroy our decentralized application. And it also lets us prevent some of the vulnerabilities that can occur in the smart contracts. But the other thing that we also are aware of is that testing can be very painful at certain times. And why is this? Well, simply because we are not always aware of all the scenarios that can occur on the smart contracts. If there are multiple dependencies for the smart contracts, then it gets really hard setting all of that up. And this is even more the case in the DeFi ecosystem, where a bunch of things are interconnected, and there's this whole money Lego thing going on. And with that, we are all aware that it's extremely hard, almost impossible to replicate the environment that is on the production network in the local. I wanted to insert an image here listing all of the things for like a simple DeFi app that you need to have and set up before running your test, but it just won't fit the screen. And let's deep dive into why this is the case. Let's look into the brief history of the testing. So I'm not going to talk about before 5 years because testing back then wasn't even the thing, almost. So 5 years ago, we have tools like Ganache and Remix that can help us also develop and test things out. And then what we would do, we would deploy everything to a local node that we can use for either unit testing or some manual testing. And if we wanted the community to get involved, we would spin it up on the testnet and let everybody interact with it. And then some 2 years ago, things changed. We have some more tools, more infrastructure providers that help us. So the DeFi summer is in full effect. There is like a new primitive, a new protocol coming out almost on a weekly level that gets fit into this whole money Lego puzzle. And then we have Hardhead Foundry, which are like local frameworks that we can use for local forking, and the Tenderly forks for Tenderly forks for hosted environment that can be shared with your community or your colleagues. And then we have the public testnets, which are used mostly for the integration and the crowd testing. And we would say this is amazing. It's enough. We have this mainnet environment where there are no bugs, but this is simply not the case. And this is not enough. So without us reinventing the wheel, let's look at what other ecosystems before us have done. So let's tap into the Web 2. Let's see what they have been doing, how they are preventing things from going sideways. And the important thing we need to remember is that it's easier to secure things in Web 2 simply because they aren't so transparent, they aren't so visible. So there are probably multiple vulnerabilities and malfunctions of the Web 2 system, but we are just not aware of it. In the Web 3, everything is open, so everybody knows what has happened. And in the Web 2 testing right now, and this is just like in the beginning of the list, so like we have per PR staging environments where we can branch out, do something, and then test things out and then that branch. We have red-green, blue-green deployments, which are basically ensuring that our production works all the time. We have canary deployments and traffic shadowing, which are essentially allowing us to make sure that we haven't introduced any regression in our code. And so there are so many things. This was just the beginning of the list. So we are missing so much, and we can do even better job at securing things in Web3. And this has been the mission of Tenderly for all 5 years that we've been working. We started off as a couple of guys trying to scratch our own itch. So we were going to hackathons. We were developing in Web3. We found out that the tooling in Web3 is not even close to Web2. Simply put, it took us 10 times more to develop things in the Web3, and it was really painful for us during those hackathons. So our mission at that time was to make productivity of the development much better, the velocity of the development much more efficient, and the whole security and overall reliability of the space as well. So we were thinking a lot how we can do it, what are the things that we can implement, what are the features that we can add, and listening to the community and taking in the feedback from the people directly who suffered some losses on the mainnet, etc. We came with the idea of Tenderly testnets. So what are Tenderly testnets? You can think of them as isolated environments. They can either be spin up from zero networks, or they can be forked. They can be either public or private. And on top of them, there are some really cool user interface, as well as some nifty features and cool tricks that you can use to set up your environments the way you want. So before talking about what are all these nifty features, I'm going to show how it all looks. So you can see a gorgeous UI. You have all the overview, all the information about the status of your environment. You have all the information relevant for hooking up to either CLI or either your local framework, or if you want to share this with your community, you have a way of interacting with the MetaMask. Now, what are some of the cool things that testnets do besides like just being like an environment or a fork environment? So what you can do is you can create permissioned RPC URLs. So for example, the testnet allow you to override any of the storage, any of the balances of any account. What you can do is you can restrict that to your community, so you can give them permissioned RPC URLs that can only do like basic things. So as mentioned, this can be used as a forked environment, but it can also be used as a fully spin out from zero environment. And it all works greatly with all the Tenderly tooling. So you can just dive deep into the transaction, debug it, and look for errors, look for something fishy going on. Side note on the Tenderly debugger, today we've added a more granular information to it, so now you can deep dive into some of the storage access things. So all the information about reading of the storage or writing to the storage are now visible in the debugger. And what are some of the other things that testnets allow you to do? So no more begging for the ETH on Twitter or Discord. So there's an integrated faucet. There's also a list of JSON RPC calls. So it's a very cool thing to have when you're debugging things. So for example, if your transaction failed due to estimate gas reverts, you can just click on it and you can simulate that transaction and see the reason why it failed. And of course, there's a way to override the balances and the way to override the states. But there's one more thing that the community really asked for a lot, and that is following on the fork chain. So what this essentially allows is for you, when you fork the blockchain, it doesn't mean that the things from the mainnet stop coming in. So with this enabled, what you can have is, you can have, for example, the Chainlink price up to date. You can have all the LP position up to date. So if you forked a year ago, the chain is going to constantly update itself. As mentioned, liquidity positions are up to date, balances, everything is up to date. And what are some of the benefits of the whole testnet feature? So you can integrate much more easily now with your partners. You can showcase your new versions to the community, give them a way to interact with it, give them a way for you to gather some of the initial feedback. You can host bug bounty programs, CTFs, etc. And you can have it as a staging environment where your team and your colleagues can collaborate. So testnets have been in development for some 9 months now, and we've just entered the early access program. So we hope to have more people start using it so that we can gather feedback, gather suggestions. More than 50% of the Tenderly was built by just listening to the community and listening what people using the product thinks. So it would mean a lot to us if you guys check this out, like give your initial thoughts, what are the next thing that you would like to see, etc. Also, I would like to invite you to join our workshop that is going to happen in some 20 minutes. Nenad from my team is going to present the testnet, give you a way to access it, and show you some of the cool tricks that you can do on testnet. Thank you so much.